Hey everyone, and welcome back to Exposed Scandalous Files of the Elite. I'm your host, Jim Chapman, and today I am bringing you what I would consider and classify as one of the most disturbing cases of the Exposed Investigate series that I've covered so far, and that is no exaggeration. What you're going to hear today is the story of the 764 group. Now, I post artwork on the Exposed Facebook page, and if you're not following that, go follow it. But I post artwork there of upcoming episodes to get everyone kind of ready, let them know what's coming up, and really, to no surprise to me, and one of the primary reasons that I chose to do this episode is when I posted the artwork for this one, a lot of people were unfamiliar. They had never heard of the 764 group, and that's exactly what I assumed, and that's exactly why it's so important that you listen to this one. Now, if you're a parent, you really need to listen up. And if you're not, then I would say you likely know someone who's a parent, and I would hope that you would pass along everything you're going to hear today. There is no episode more important to share than this one that I'm about to tell you about, because when I'm done, you are not going to believe what is going on right in your own backyard. And we're going to start off in the city of Stevensville, Texas. Now, Stevensville is a very quaint town. It sits on the North Bosque River, and it calls itself the cowboy capital of the world. It's a very small North Texas town, and things are typically quiet there. That is until a detective in the Stevensville PD receives an array of cyber tips regarding child pornography being uploaded to the internet from an IP address located inside the city of Stevensville. So he receives these tips from the Dallas Police Department, and they had ran a search prior to sending him these tips of that IP address, and they figured out, okay, this is coming from an IP address in Stevensville, which is how he ended up with this. And he received numerous different tips. He received one on June 15th of 2021, another on June 30th, another on August 16th, and another on August 23rd. And they all led to that same IP address. So the Dallas detectives, they reported to this detective that those cyber tips showed images of prepubescent females and males engaging in sexual acts, as well as many pictures being uploaded of various nude females. Those were the reports they received. Now, the tips showed Discord as the reporting party, and it showed that the users' profile screen name that uploaded these pictures was reported as Felix923, as well as the profile name aka Brad, a profile name Brad764, and then there were various combinations of the name Felix. However, all of these images were uploaded and tied to that same IP address. So this person was just using a different username. Many different usernames. So before we go any further, I want to give you an idea of what some of the things we just talked about are, in case you're not very familiar. And I'll start out with Discord. So Discord is a free application that you can download, and you can chat from this application in various different ways. You can video chat, you can audio chat, you can text chat. Now, what makes Discord different than most any other application is the fact that you can create private rooms. And these private rooms are rooms where only invited guests can enter the room. Now, when Discord originated as an application, initially it was intended for gamers, and these gamers would create, private rooms for Warcraft, for example, and only Warcraft players would go in this room. Or if they only wanted to play against people with, or specific people that they knew, they would create a room and only allow those people into it. However, as we're going to talk about today, its uses obviously are going to become much more sinister. I also mentioned IP addresses in what I just told you. And I want to quickly tell those of you that may not know what an IP address actually is. Think of it as a computer server address for wherever information is being sent and received via the internet. It's kind of like your home address, but it functions through the internet. It basically can track back to where that internet signal begins. That's the best way I can think to explain that to you. It actually stands for Internet Protocol Address. So back to it, the detective, he gets these cyber tips, and the first thing he does is he subpoenas the internet company where this IP address is registered. And why he did that was he's trying to figure out who owns that IP address, and the cable company in this instance is called Northland Cable Television. It's located in Stevensville. In that subpoena, he basically asked for the subscriber names that were registered to that IP address. And the subscriber name comes back as Heather. And I'm not going to say the last name because this is about the perpetrator in this case and not Heather, which Heather, incidentally, is the perpetrator's mother. But it comes back to Heather, and it lists her address. So in addition to that, he does an account search under Heather's name, and it shows an email that is linked or associated to her in some kind of way, and that email was Bradley_Cadenhead@gmail.com. Now, in the meantime, this detective gets yet another cyber tip sent to him, and it reported that a user named Bradley Ortiz, as well as Felix, aka Brad, and others have been distributing child pornography on that Discord server. So while he's investigating this and getting names, he's still getting reports from people online that are on Discord, and they're kind of good actors, not bad actors, if you will. And they're sending the police, hey, this person's exchanging child pornography, that sort of thing. So the next thing the detective does is he verifies, because this is an apartment, that Heather is still residing at that apartment. Once he does that, he gets what's known as an affidavit for evidentiary search warrant. This is on August 25th of 2021. That gets signed by a judge, and he, as well as some other detectives, they head over to that apartment to serve that warrant. So detectives arrive on the scene, and they find out this is a rather small apartment. It just consists of a combined kitchen and living room area, almost like an efficiency apartment. And it has a master bedroom and one other bedroom across the hall. And that was later determined to be Bradley Cadenhead's bedroom. Now, everything seized that night were found in Bradley's bedroom. The detective noted also that it was apparent to him Bradley's bedroom was kind of like a permanent living space for this teen. The detective noted that it seemed Bradley spent most of its time in there. There were, it was messy. There were soda cans, chip bags everywhere. And it wasn't long after they got there that they realized that Bradley Cadenhead was just 15 years old. And he also noted that when he made contact with Bradley, and he told him what they were there to investigate, he was kind of surprised by Bradley's demeanor. He was just very calm. He wasn't nervous at all. As a matter of fact, he was almost flat. The detective would later describe him as emotionless. And this was kind of shocking to the detective because he had dealt with his share of child pornography cases. And usually these people are very nervous, they're scared, they're embarrassed, all these sorts of things. But in this case, none of that. It just didn't fit your typical profile of what you would expect as far as the way that Bradley acted. Now, multiple electronics were recovered from the home, and that included a laptop computer and a cell phone in Bradley's room. And one thing they noticed when they seized the laptop was the lock screen showed the username on the computer was Brad764. Now, if you'll recall, I just told you a second ago that was one of the usernames used in those Discord chats where some child pornography was uploaded. So at this point, that's a big key piece of evidence. And this detective is thinking, oh, he's likely our guy, but he still has to talk to everybody that lived there. And of course, he spoke to Heather, who is Bradley's mother. She gets interviewed at the Stevensville Police Department. And the detective asked her if anyone outside of Bradley had access to his computer. She said no. And he said, do you know the log on for the computer? She said no. And she mentioned she had a live-in boyfriend. Of course, they interviewed him as well. But the detective said, does he have any access to Bradley's computer? No. Does he know the password? No. The detective asked the boyfriend the same thing, and of course it was no. And they did dig into the boyfriend a little bit more, and they discovered he's definitely not involved because a lot of the images that were uploaded during this time period were prior to this boyfriend living with Bradley and his mother. He wasn't even at the apartment at those times, so they knew, okay, this guy's not involved. So at this point, the detective pretty much determined, okay, this 15-year-old kid is the one doing this. I need to find out as much information as I can on him. And when this detective starts digging into Bradley Cadenhead, man, does he discover some shocking things. Now, at this time, as I said, Bradley is 15, but this detective discovers, and he discovered all this in very short order, like the next day, that Bradley had been in quite a bit of trouble at the age of 13. As a matter of fact, he was already convicted of a very serious crime. So I'm going to refer to an incident report dated 9/14, September 14th of 2018, that an officer named Benny Payne filled out regarding an incident that occurred at Bradley School. And it reads, on 9/13 of 2018, I, Officer Benny Payne, was notified by Assistant Principal Brian Sanders that Bradley Cadenhead was accused of making a terroristic threat. Brian told me he was notified by the teacher about the threat on 9/12 of 2018 at 1 p.m. Brian told me it was unfounded and he believed it did not occur after speaking to all the witnesses. Brian told me all involved have went home as of this time. Brian wanted me to know in case I wanted to do any follow-up investigation. So I asked Brian what happened. Brian told me he pulled Bradley into his office immediately and started searching his backpack. No weapons were found. Bradley was placed in ISS, and I'm not sure what that is. I guess it's kind of like detention for the remainder of the day as he was being investigated for the threat. Brian first spoke to Joey Alvos. Joey told him he was standing in the hall at first period near Miss Rainey's room. Also present were James Phelps, Shanna Daly, Madison Salas, and Bradley Cadenhead. Joey told Mr. Sanders he overheard Bradley say he wants to bring a gun to school and shoot up the school and go home and kill kids. Joey gave the statement to Mr. Sanders. The next person Brian spoke with was Shanna Daly. Shanna told Mr. Sanders she didn't hear Bradley say anything about bringing a gun and shooting anybody. Shanna told Mr. Sanders Bradley was trying to tell her how to build a bomb the other day. This 13-year-old kid, y'all. Shanna told Mr. Sanders Madison was also there when Bradley talked about making a bomb. Shanna told Mr. Sanders she just walked away. Shanna was asked why did this occur? Shanna told Mr. Sanders she just walked away. Mr. Sanders next spoke to Madison Salas. Mr. Sanders knows Madison and told me she is a trusted student. Madison told Mr. Sanders that none of the threats occurred. Madison told him Bradley did not say anything about shooting up the school or making a bomb. James Phelps was called in the office and he spoke to Mr. Sanders. James told Mr. Sanders Bradley did not say anything about guns or shooting up the school. Mr. Sanders called Bradley's mother and spoke to Bradley as she listened in. Bradley's mother, Heather, did not believe Bradley made any threats. She also told Mr. Sanders they do not have any weapons in the home and Bradley is watched enough that they would know if he was trying to make a bomb, but he is, quote, not that type. Bradley denied all the allegations against him and no action will be taken against Bradley. On September 14th of 2018, I called Joey Avalos into the office around 11:45 a.m. and started looking into the case. Joey told me the same story as he did Mr. Sanders. I recorded all interviews on body cam. I next spoke to James Phelps. James also told me Bradley did not say anything that day about shooting up the school. I next spoke to Shanna. Shanna also told me Bradley didn't say anything. Shanna told me that on a different day, Bradley was trying to tell her how to build a bomb. Shanna told me she just walked away. I asked Shanna if he threatened to use the bomb, and Shanna told me no. I asked Shanna, when was this? Shanna told me maybe on Monday. I asked Shanna, if this was so important, why didn't you tell somebody then? Shanna told me she didn't realize it was important until asked about the gun. I asked Shanna about other witnesses to the bomb remarks, and Shanna told me Madison heard it. Madison was not available, but she had already told Mr. Sanders that Bradley did not tell Shanna how to make a bomb. Mr. Sanders gave me copies of some of the statements. Mr. Sanders also gave a statement himself. My body cam video was logged onto the property page and downloaded into evidence. The school is not going to take any action against Bradley and does not have any evidence that a threat occurred, and the case will be unfounded. But you know, this lucky break by Bradley Cadenhead didn't last for long, because just a week later, another report comes out. It says new evidence has come forward and I have opened the case back up. On 9/18 of 2018 at approximately 8 p.m., I was told by Assistant Principal Sanders another child wanted to report threats made by Bradley Cadenhead. The child's name is Ethan Barnes. Ethan came to the assistant principal's office and I recorded the interview. Ethan told me he wanted to let us know that Bradley Cadenhead had threatened to shoot up the school because Bradley hates it. Ethan told me this occurred on the first day of school. Ethan told me Bradley made another threat to shoot up the school towards the end of the first week. Then again, around September the 10th, Ethan told me that Bradley said he wanted to carve pentagrams into the table and kill everyone. Ethan told me Bradley often says the same things a lot, and they have lockers next to each other, and he hears this. Ethan told me he is tired of hearing Bradley making threats and wanted Mr. Sanders and me to know about it. Ethan also gave a written statement. Taking into consideration the threat made last week by Bradley and the content of that threat matching Ethan's complaint, it does start to corroborate Joey Avalos' statement as well. Joey's statement reads, Bradley was heard saying in the hallway when break was over that he wanted to shoot up the school, and when he gets home, he wants to kill kids. I called Joey back in and spoke to him about Bradley. Joey told me that he did hear him say that he and his friends are lying for him. Joey stands by his statement. Around 12 o'clock p.m., I was approached by Miss Vandenberg, Bradley's teacher. Miss Vandenberg told me she wanted Bradley out of her class. He was being disruptive, and some of the children complained about his threats of violence against the school. 13-year-old kid, y'all. Miss Vandenberg had overheard Bradley's fixation on violent behavior. She heard him talk about getting guns and putting silencers on them, making bombs, and watching violent killing videos on YouTube. Miss Vandenberg told me she's afraid he was building up his courage to do such things. Miss Vandenberg was upset and was very concerned for her classroom safety, and she told me her classroom aide, Miss Ketchum, felt the same way. Today, Bradley lashed out at Miss Vandenberg when she told him to stop talking about gang killings and Bloods and Crips. Miss Vandenberg told him she didn't want to hear it. Bradley yelled back at Miss Vandenberg. He didn't want to hear what she had to say either. Miss Vandenberg sent him to the office, but Bradley detoured and went to lunch. Ms. Vandenberg gave a written statement. With all the statements and subject matter being the same, I believe Bradley is making threats to students. Bradley's demeanor since I have started working at Henderson Junior High is sullen and angry. He comes to school with an attitude of, I hate this place, and I've heard him say so as he enters the school and starts walking down the hall. I met with Erath County Attorney Lisa Pence, and we discussed the statements and the threats made by Bradley. What makes the past complaints come to light is the fact that teachers are now coming forward with Bradley's behavior and threats. Miss Vandenberg believes and feels threatened, as does her aide, Miss Ketchum. Bradley was taken into custody by myself and Officer Tots. Bradley is being charged with terroristic threat. I called his mother and asked her to meet us at the judge's office. I told Miss Bettis, the school counselor, what was occurring, and we had called the parents. I also contacted the assistant principal and advised him. The school does wish to seek charges in this case. I transported Bradley to the judge's office. Bradley's parents refused to let me question Bradley. I explained the complaint to them and read the statements against Bradley, and I asked Bradley's parents to take Bradley to the PD. Bradley was then fingerprinted and pictured as required. Juvenile probation was called, and they asked that Bradley be released to his parents and wanted them to come to their office. Bradley was released to his parents, and they proceeded to the JPO office. Then about 2 weeks later, he has another short report. It says on 9/25 of 2018 at approximately 2:44 p.m., I, Officer Benny Payne, received an email from the Assistant Principal Sanders in regards to a concerned parent. The parent's name is Leslie Cantu, and she had emailed him about Bradley Cadenhead. Leslie's email reads, Hi, Mr. Sanders. I'm sending a social media post you may or may not know about by a student at Henderson. My son, Caleb, has been sharing with me that social media post from a kid, not sure his name, who recently got in trouble for terroristic threats. The only way we are aware of what happened is because this kid is posting on social media. He posted a picture of his disciplinary form that was given to him by the school. Since then, he has continued to post. Below is the most disturbing of all. I'm not sure if his social media is being monitored, so I thought I'd forward this information along to you. I'm not sure where he is posting this: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, etc. Signed, respectively, Leslie Cantu. It says, attached to the email is a picture of a young black male pointing a large caliber handgun at the camera. The picture reads, guess what? At the bottom is written, I still don't care. Now, it's important to mention, it wasn't a picture of Bradley. He's white, but he's posting these pictures of guys holding guns. The reason Bradley is in protective custody, this post is concerning and shows his attitude toward the offense he has committed. This post was made on 9/19 of 2018, so just a day after he was picked up for all that bullshit. I called Leslie and spoke to her about the post. Leslie told me her son is afraid Bradley might actually do something. I asked Leslie if it was okay for me to talk to Caleb tomorrow. Leslie told me yes. Around 8:44 a.m., I asked Caleb to come to Mr. Sanders' office and asked Caleb to also bring his phone. When Caleb arrived, I asked him what had happened. Caleb told me Bradley Cadenhead was posting things to Instagram. I asked Caleb if they were on his phone. Caleb told me yes. I told Caleb I will call his mother and see if she will give me permission to look at Caleb's phone. I spoke to Leslie again. Leslie works as a teacher herself. She told me it was okay to look through Caleb's phone. Caleb showed me his phone. On the phone were 5 pictures with the Instagram name of, and it gives it, staying_low_key_for_a while. That's a long name. The pictures were all added on or after 9/19 of 2018, the day after Bradley was taken into custody. Caleb told me that this is Bradley's Instagram name. Caleb is on Bradley's list of people he shows posts to. He also knows it is Bradley because of the discipline paperwork on the Instagram site. The 5 pictures are as follows: a picture of a young man pointing a handgun, one of Bradley's discipline papers, which he would be the only one with a copy besides the school. This ties the Instagram page to Bradley. The other post read, quote, the people at the probation office said I'm dangerous. The next one reads, hashtag Bird's court case. The next post reads, post all of your posts on Bird's court case. And the last one is a still picture of a video of a person opening a knife with a handgun in the background. The post of the knife was made in May of 2018, but is under that same username. So that's the end of those supplement reports, but very important and indicative of the problems Bradley was already experiencing at the age of 13. And that's just what people knew about. So what happened as a result of these terroristic threats at the age of 13? Well, what happens in this case in the end, and I have no doubt a lot of this is due to his age, but in the end, Bradley received probation and he was released to the custody of his mother. This was on June 6th of 2019, and he remained on probation until June 3rd of 2020. So remember, now we've got all this sex, these new pictures of teens being exchanged on the internet, and Bradley is 15, and this detective is investigating this, and he just discovered everything I just told you about with these terroristic threats. So armed with this information, the detective realizes, okay, this kid has got a lot of fucking problems. He's definitely not an Eagle Scout, and we're going to have to go pick him up, which they do. This was on August 27th of 2021. And on August 30th, Bradley gets released into the custody of his father while the case is pending, and he's required to wear an ankle monitor. And of course, in the meantime, this laptop that they couldn't get into, it gets sent off so someone can essentially break into it from the police department. And that took a while. But on March 14th of 2022, the forensic examination is complete and the results were forwarded to a Lieutenant Lanier, who is the detective I've been referring to in this case. And basically the report said, this stuff is so sensitive, we're not even going to send it to you over the internet. You need to pick it up in person. We're not even comfortable emailing you this. So Lieutenant Lanier, he makes the drive to the Austin, Texas crime lab, and he personally receives these items from the crime lab technician. And the items received were the laptop with a charger and a thumb drive containing a digital report. And it was simply disgusting. And this is your warning that it gets really sensitive from here forward. On that laptop was found young prepubescent females engaging in sexual acts or displaying their unclothed genitals. Over 20 unique images. That means 20 different girls. Many of the images were also duplicated many times in the computer. And in addition to the images located on the laptop, 2 videos were uncovered that depicted adolescent females engaging in sex. One video file had screen captures of a social media conversation between the username Felix, remember that, and other members, and contained a video of a minor female having sexual intercourse with an adult male in the caption, "No one cares." Additional notable images in the laptop depicted self-harming of girls in the form of cutting the words into their skin. Quote, "Brad is a pedo." Also found were images where young girls were carving the numbers 764 into their arm. And if I haven't said it yet, 76401 is the area code for where Bradley Cadenhead lived. So he used 764 a lot. Multiple audio recordings of people discussing or mentioning grooming were also located in the forensic examination. One audio recording mentioned Brad multiple times, and in addition to the child pornography recovered log on credentials and usernames were also consistent with Felix Brad764, all the fucking usernames that this kid uses. And y'all, I'm going to go over this with you. And the only reason I'm comfortable in going over with you what I'm about to go over with you is it's not a tactic used anymore. Thank God the police caught on to this, and all the algorithms now can pick this up on like Twitter, where this tutorial was. But it's important for you to understand, you may wonder, how do people even exchange child porn? It's not like you can just approach someone and ask them. Now, this particular tactic is not used anymore, but on that computer, police found a child porn tutorial, and it was something that these people were exchanging with each other through Discord. And I'm going to read you this just to give you an example of how this would occur. And it says, intro. In this tutorial, I will show you how to get child pornography in a few simple steps. This is made for educational purposes only, and I do not encourage any entity to replicate these steps. Do it at your own risk. What a fucking dumbass whoever wrote this is thinking, oh, that's going to get me out of trouble because I'm telling you do it at your own risk and I'm not responsible for it. But the first thing that this person recommends is you get a VPN. And for those of you that don't know what that is, the best way to describe it is it keeps all those details from being traced back to you. It almost blocks your IP address. And then a lot of times it will give you, or it'll give the appearance that the IP is not coming from where it's actually coming from. I know that's kind of hard to follow, but think of it as a blocker for your IP address. Remember, they caught Bradley because apparently he wasn't using a VPN. Now, personally, I think VPNs ought to be illegal because they're almost never used for good purposes. Some people use them and they download these VPN apps because they just don't like anyone knowing where they're at or following them. But the majority of it are bad actors that are doing shit like this. But anyway, it says get a VPN. Then it says create an alternate Twitter account. Register a Twitter account under a different email address than you normally use. Do not use your phone number. Don't use your real name or anything that could trace back to you. Then it gives a link to sign up for a Twitter account. It says, make a tweet with the following template. Once you've made your new Twitter account, make a tweet that looks like this. And it goes by hashtags. And it says hashtag megalinks, hashtag S2R, which stands for send to receive. Then it says trading now, get loads of stuff, DM me. And you apparently had to write this exactly like that. Goes on to say these two hashtags are extremely important. If you don't include them, it won't work. What I like to do is also add my Discord tag into the tweet. This makes it way faster. And then it gives an example of doing that. Then it says receiving the CP, which is child porn. Says you should get a few messages in just a few hours because they used a lot of hashtags. When he wrote that on Twitter, he used hashtags, and you can search specific hashtags on Twitter. So these people that want child porn, if they know to search these hashtags, they know, hey, this person is down for it. They've got child porn to trade. So fucking sick, y'all. But it goes on to say, receiving the child porn, you should get a few messages in about a few hours. Be patient or spam your Discord under other tweets, including the hashtags megalinks and S2R to get more people. After about a few minutes or hours, you should get your first messages or friend requests on Discord. Ask them something along the lines of, quote, hey, want to trade? People trade the mega.nz links with each other. I don't know what that exactly means. And it goes on to say, so a brief recap. You use Twitter to make a tweet that you want to trade. Do not state you want to trade CP, which is child porn. This will get your account banned. People contact you. You ask them to send their mega link first. You steal their mega link. After you have one mega link, you can trade with other people for more. This method got me about 200 gigabytes of child porn. And then he has in parentheses around 2,500 files in just a few days. Here's some child porn links. They might get banned after a while. And then links to this fucking child porn. Add me on Telegram if you have any questions. And the dude actually signs it off with "Stay safe." What a sick fucker. Oh, this is so infuriating and disgusting. But that tutorial was found on that computer. Just nuts that these people even exist in this world. So before we go any further, I'll give you a little history on Bradley Cadenhead. And because of his age, he was 15 when all this went down. He was in juvenile court initially. And in juvenile court, you do what's known as a social history report. And I'm going to refer to that, and I'm going to give you a little bit of his family history. And as you know, I'm just going to use first names here with everyone except for Bradley. Heather and Jeffrey, who were his mother and father, were married in December of 2000. Before this marriage, Heather had a daughter who currently resides with her today. Her name is Courtney, and she was 27 years old when this was in 2021, when this was written. Bradley's father had 2 children from his previous marriage, a daughter who is 26 years old and a son who is 25 years old, who currently live in another part of Texas. On August 21st of 2005, Bradley was born in Stevensville, Texas. The family resides in Stevensville, Texas, and his mother reported that the sister and the brother lived with their biological mother after Bradley was a year and a half old. She and Bradley's father described that their family was involved in their church, Washington Baptist Church. Brad's father was in charge of music, the recording, and the website, and his mother and her daughter sang in church services. Both parents report that Bradley played soccer as a young child, but he did not care for it after the age of 7. Around 2011, both parents reported that Bradley did not like attending church due to the pastor's grandson picking on him. Bradley's father mentioned that his mother left the church around that same time and she started attending another church. Bradley's mother said Bradley's father refused to change religion and that he would continue to take Bradley to church with him. Bradley's mother said this caused issues in their marriage, and they started marriage counseling around the last year that they lived together. Bradley's mother moved out of the family home sometime in June of 2016. Bradley's paternal grandmother stepped in to help his father raised Bradley when he was at work. Bradley's father reported that Bradley was mad at his mother when he found out she moved out of the home. Bradley's father mentioned that during the beginning of the separation, he and Bradley got along well and they would spend time together and attend church functions. Bradley's father obtained standard visitation rights with Bradley during the separation process. During this time, Bradley's mother relays she was drinking a lot and partying. She mentioned that when Bradley would come over, she would be at the pool drinking and hanging out with friends. Around January of 2017, Bradley's father reported that Bradley started acting out. The more time that he spent with his mother, the worse his behavior became. He mentioned that Bradley even idolized his mother's boyfriend at one point. Bradley's father described his mother's boyfriend as a bad influence who was in and out of prison his whole life. In March of 2017, Bradley's father and Bradley's mother's divorce was finalized. Bradley's mother and Bradley's father both recounted that Bradley was still manageable around the fall of 2017 when he started 7th grade. They mentioned that he wanted to play football but broke his arm in the beginning of the season. His mother reported she noticed a, quote, big change after that point. Both parents mentioned Bradley started hanging out with another teenager at the end of 2017. Bradley's mother reported she was at first happy that Bradley was making new friends because he did not have any and he was bullied a lot in school. However, she mentioned over time she realized that it was a toxic friendship. The other teenager had behavior issues and they started to feed off of each other's behavior. Bradley started leaving the home whenever he wanted and acting up. In the summer of 2018, Bradley's mother reports that Bradley became very ill and was throwing up all night. She took him to the emergency room, and that's when he admitted to taking pills and cough syrup. Bradley was in ICU for 3 days. Once he was released from the hospital, he was transported by the sheriff's office to Red River. Both parents recalled they were not aware at this time that Bradley was trying to get high. They both reported he was just trying to harm himself. On September 18th of 2018, Bradley obtained his first offense for terroristic threat. Bradley was placed on conditions of release on September 18th of 2018. During this time, both parents became aware Bradley was drinking alcohol and smoking marijuana. Bradley was placed on court-ordered probation on June 6 of 2019. While on court-ordered probation, Bradley had compliance issues and was detained in Grayson County on August 22nd of 2019. Bradley was then moved from detention to placement program with Rockdale Academy. This was on August 28th of 2019. Bradley was in Rockdale Academy for a 6-month program and completed placement on February 13th of 2020. Bradley resides with his father after his release from placement in 2020, and he completed court-ordered probation, which I told y'all about. After his release from probation, Bradley went to live with his mother around August of 2020. His mother reports that Bradley started 9th grade, and he seemed happy. She mentioned that he would get up and get dressed. However, he started getting sick, often throwing up, and his anxiety worsened. Both parents reported he only attended school the first week of 9th grade and that he started not wanting to go anymore. In January of 2021, Bradley's mother said she received a phone call that she needed to unenroll Bradley because he had too many truancy days and she would receive a truancy charge. Bradley's mother mentioned that Bradley had become secluded and was in his room all the time. She mentioned that she did not know what was going on with Bradley and was in shock when he was detained in August of 2021 for his current pending offense. Bradley reported that he lived in Stevensville all his life and that his longest family home setting he lived in was before his parents' separation. He stated he lived with his mother, Heather, father, Jeffrey, half-sister, Courtney. He reported that he did not remember much of his childhood, but he remembers playing soccer for 1 year. He also remembers he was not interested in it. He said his family attended church and that he liked it. He enjoyed going to church camp and said that the challenges against everyone were fun. He described that during the camps, they would go swimming and just hang out with church friends. Bradley stated that when his mother moved out of their home, his sister Courtney was not residing with the family because she had moved out after high school graduation. Bradley reported that he felt different and that it was not the same after his mom moved out. Bradley described that when, quote, my mom moved out, it affected me and I stopped caring about everything. Bradley has lived on and off with both his parents since their divorce in 2017. As of March 5th of 2022, he currently is residing with his mother, Heather, his older half-sister, Courtney, and his mom's boyfriend. The home has 3 bedrooms, 2 restrooms, a living room, a kitchen, a sunroom, and an enclosed backyard. So they, at this point in time, had moved out of that apartment. Then it gets into what's known as the intra-family relationships. And it says Bradley's mother describes her relationship with Bradley. So this is his mother writing what her thoughts are on their relationship. Quote, Bradley is a mama's boy. I knew he would be my last child. Bradley and I share a son and mother bond. He was such a hugger, but is not as much anymore. When Bradley was born, I stayed home with him just to soak him up. I started working around that time that he started 2nd grade. He was such a good child. He liked school until he started getting bullied around 5th grade. Before and when Bradley was born, our family took a lot of vacations and attended church events. When Bradley became older, it was harder for us to take vacations. I think that when I moved out of the home and my behavior during that first year or so of leaving contributed to Bradley's behavior, and at times I felt responsible. When Bradley went to placement, I would go visit him often. He came out a different child. He would smile and hug me. He cared about the way he looked, and he would just talk to me. I did not know what had changed, but he started feeling sick again in ninth grade, and he would just seclude himself. I think he feels like he was left out and he is awkward. When he got arrested in August of 2021, I was disgusted, devastated, and scared. Since then, he shut down his communication with me. We still hang out, watch movies, and eat together, but I feel the distance between us. Bradley has a good heart and wants to take care of me. I want Bradley to turn his life around, obtain his GED, and be a productive member of society. He needs to obtain a job, continue to take his medication, and deal with his mental health. He is well behaved at home and does all the chores that I ask him to complete. Then the mother was asked about his relationship with his sister, and she stated he gets along with his sister, but before his first offense in 2018, she would help him out a lot. She kind of took a parent role for Bradley. He listens to her more than his dad and me. When Bradley was on probation, Courtney started to distance herself from him because his behavior became overwhelming. When he was in placement, she went with me to see him, and after he was released, they worked on their bond again. When Bradley obtained his current offense, she was disgusted and angry with him. They had a confrontation that led to me stepping in and stopping it. She is devastated about the situation, but is currently in counseling, and this has helped her with Bradley. So then Bradley was asked about his relationship with his sister, and he said, "We have gone through a lot together. She was like my partner in crime. I can talk to her about things I cannot talk to with my mom. She does a lot of stuff for me. We watch movies together, and I know she's worried about my current situation." He's then asked about his relationship with his father, and he says, "We talk, but we're not close. Before my mother moved out of the home, my relationship with my dad was good. After my mom moved out, our relationship fell apart because we were feeding off of each other's negativity." The father was asked about his relationship with Bradley, and he said, "Bradley and I got along well even after his mother moved out of the home. We attended church, played football outside, and even went to laser tag together. Bradley has always had a different style of humor, and he has been a bit mischievous since he was younger. I noticed a big change in Bradley when he started going to his mother's home during visitations. He started idolizing his mom's boyfriend, and his behavior was changed. He was inappropriate at times. He started acting out at church and at home. It started progressing until he ended up on probation and was placed at Rockdale Academy. When he moved back to his mom's in August of 2020, he just became secluded. I would try to take him to school, but he would refuse to. I was shocked to learn about his offense, but I allowed him to come live with me after the detention hearing. I requested he follow certain rules when he came to live with me. Bradley seemed to enjoy pushing others' buttons by picking at them. He has done this with me. When he lived in my home, he did not follow certain rules. We had issues, and I no longer wanted him in my home. I'm concerned for the safety of Bradley if he is transferred and charged as an adult. I think he will flip out and try to commit suicide, and he could be successful if he does not have 24-hour supervision. I do not wish my son to be sent to prison, but perhaps a facility that can help him deal with certain issues and provide him with a routine." Bradley was then asked to describe his relationship with his mother, and he said, "I felt distance from my mom right now. She's just going through female stuff, and she's struggling to find a new job. I liked her boyfriend, Mike, at first, but I feel like he's using her." He described his relationship further about his sister, and he said they've been talking more. She's getting married in July of 2022, and the relationship is good right now. So that was kind of the inter-family interviews. And then some of the financial information for those curious that is in this report. His father was employed in a recovery facility since June of 2014 and makes around $41,000 a year. And his mother had just started employment with something called Good Tree, and she makes $14 an hour. In regard to mental history, it said his mother advised that Bradley has high triglyceride due to his medication, and then she has in parentheses Seroquel, and has gained weight. Both parents report that he has always had stomach issues, and they have taken him to the doctor, but there has been no explanation, and that he takes a lot of Tums to deal with it. Then it lists his current medication that he's currently on: Lexapro, 10 milligram, Seroquel, 300 milligram, Depakote 250 milligram, and that's in the morning. Then in the evening, Depakote 500 milligram, Seroquel 250 milligram as needed. It goes on to say Bradley is 5 feet, 11 and a half, so basically 6 feet tall, weighs around 195 pounds. Big boy for 15. He has red hair and blue eyes. He claims he has one birthmark on his chest that is the size of a dime. Bradley has been hospitalized 4 times since the summer of 2018, and this was written in 2022, y'all. Bradley reported that in December of 2016, and this is where it gets really disturbing, he starts self-cutting. He mentioned that he did this because other kids at school were doing it, and they showed their cuts and scratches to him. Bradley reported that from there, he got the idea of inflicting pain and decided to do it to himself. Bradley has self-inflicted scars on his left arm from self-cutting. And this was in 2016, which means he was 11 years old. His mom described the first hospitalization happened because Bradley had been extremely sick and was throwing up all night. She reported she took him to the emergency room and he was in ICU for 3 days. On his release, the Stevensville Police Department transported him to Red River due to him admitting to his mother that he took pills and cough syrup. Bradley told his parents he was trying to get high and that he was not trying to commit suicide. He reported that was incorrect, and he was just attempting to get his girlfriend's attention. He relayed that it was not the first time he had taken medication and drank cough syrup to get high. His dad reported Bradley was in Red River for about 6 days. His mom reported the second hospitalization was in August of 2019. Bradley threatened to kill his father and was transported to Red River for about 7 days. His parents reported when he was released from Red River, he immediately was transported to Grayson County Department of Juvenile Services after a detention hearing was held. Bradley was hospitalized in January of 2022 at a behavioral hospital in Dallas due to a meltdown, hearing voices, quote, to kill them all. Bradley was released on February 1st of 2022. On February 3rd of 2022, his father took Bradley to the ER due to self-harming in the living room. Bradley advised that he blacked out and did not recall what was happening at that time. He was hospitalized on February 4th and released on February 11th. His father provided documentation for this hospitalization, and Bradley was diagnosed with bipolar, depression, and unspecified anxiety report. Since October 12th of 2021, Bradley had been seeing a psychiatrist. He is currently taking medication his psychiatrist prescribed for him. He mentioned he does not feel like the medication is helping, and he feels blank and unhappy. Bradley reports that after placement in Rockdale Academy, he did not continue counseling. Around March of 2022, his mother had him start counseling services. Bradley reports he likes that counselor, but does not feel like he's able to be honest with her. He said he's had anxiety issues for a while, and this causes him issues with attending school. Goes on to say his mother disclosed her concerns for Bradley. She reported that Bradley told her boyfriend that if he is sent to an adult prison or if he has to register as a sex offender, he will commit suicide. She reported he mentioned to her boyfriend Mike that he would complete this action by overdosing on medication. Since then, she has locked up all the medicine in her home and he has no current access to it. Says both parents reported that Bradley went through a lot of bullying in schools and in some ways in the church. They both reported that he went to school to talk to the administration about bullying and nothing was done. They talked to the pastor, who is also the grandfather of the kids that picked on Bradley, and they talked to the kids doing the bullying about the behavior. However, his mother said she felt like it was not addressed, and his father described that after speaking with the pastor's grandsons, boys that were picking on Bradley, the bullying stopped. Both parents reported that due to Bradley's current offense, they're concerned that maybe he suffered some type of abuse, but they have never asked Bradley about it. Bradley does not make any reports for physical, sexual, neglectful, or emotional abuse. Substance abuse history. His mother described that Bradley started drinking alcohol, taking pills, and smoking marijuana around 2018. His mother became aware of the drug use when Bradley was on conditions of release in July of 2019 and tested positive for marijuana. Bradley said he first drank alcohol at the age of 11 or 12 with an older friend. He said that after that, they drank randomly and stopped when he was in placement in August of 2019. He said he started drinking again in May of 2021 and that the last time was on his 16th birthday. Bradley said that he would drink alcohol to feel happy. Bradley said that he first used marijuana at the age of 11. He said he did it about 2 times at that age. However, he reported at age 12 through 13, he started smoking marijuana anytime he could. He stated that sometimes he would get the marijuana for free and other times he would use money from mowing lawns to pay for the marijuana. Bradley reports the other drugs he used to get high were Oxycontin when it was prescribed to him. He also reported he would sell these pills at school to make extra money. Bradley stated that he would take pills with cough syrup to obtain a high. Bradley reports the last time he used cough syrup or pills a week after his release from placement, and he did not enjoy it. He reported that was the last time he tried that. And as far as his education, it said his father reported Bradley struggled with math growing up and in 5th grade had a hard time with reading. Bradley was placed in remedial classes in 7th grade and placed in the behavioral room at some point at junior high here in Stevensville. However, both parents uncertain at the grade level at which this had happened. Bradley repeated the 8th grade twice due to him not wanting to go to school and not passing his grade level. In the fall of 2020, Bradley started the 9th grade in Stevensville High School and attended about a week of school. His mother reported that he missed too many days of school that fall semester and that it was recommended that she unenrolled him to prevent truancy charges. His mother mentioned that she would like Bradley to obtain his GED and wanted information from the Texas workforce. As far as hobbies, both parents reported Bradley enjoyed drawing and playing video games. Bradley also confirmed that and said he was uncertain of what he would like to do when he was older. Religion, Bradley is uncertain about his religion or faith. Employment, Bradley is not employed at this time. Nor has he been in the past. He was 15. Psychological evaluation. Bradley completed a psychological evaluation. He was diagnosed with disruptive mood dysregulation disorder and a bunch of causes of that. They mentioned the divorce, etc. He's also diagnosed with ADHD, major depression, single episode with psychotic features, generalized anxiety disorder, conduct disorder, and they ruled out cannabis use disorder. I never heard of that. It says child's attitude. Bradley was previously under the supervision of a probation officer named Jennifer Thurman during this first referral. However, Thurman is no longer employed with the juvenile probation, and Bradley has been in this officer's supervision since December 14th of 2021. This officer has seen Bradley in his home and at the probation office at least once a week since obtaining supervision. He was placed on an ankle monitor in 2021 and has not had any issues or violations. He's been cooperative during the meetings, seems to understand the social history that this report was being completed. Basically, he goes on to say that the kid had complied and it wasn't giving him any problems, essentially. So that's the social history report on this kid, and a very descriptive report, I felt. So now that you know all of that, it'll come to no surprise that on September 22nd of 2022, a grand jury indicted Bradley Cadenhead for 9 counts of various child pornography charges. And I'm not going to go over each count. It's all in relation to child pornography videos, child pornography pictures, all of these people under the age of 18, and there's 9 counts in total. So obviously Bradley had already been arrested, and in this indictment, it becomes clear that Bradley is in fact going to be charged as an adult. Even though these offenses were committed at the age of 15, at this point, he's already 16. And when we get into why they charged him as an adult, you're not going to fucking believe it. And we're going to do that on the next episode of Exposed. You're not going to have to wait long. Day after tomorrow, I'm dropping part 2 in this series. It's not going to be a week from now. I'm dropping it day after tomorrow if you're listening to this the day it dropped. And we'll wrap this whole series up. But I'm telling you right now, part 2 of this series is a must-hear. And I'm begging you to please share this with any parent you know, because it gets really bad from here. Some of the things that are discovered are a result of this cult that was known as the 764 group. We'll get into that. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/exposed podcast files. Look, commercial-free early releases, bonus episodes, and files. Speaking of files, I'm uploading a 115-page document on this case. Bunch of different things. Some of that I covered today. Some of that I did not. I'm going to upload that for the Patreon members. So check that out. And please share this with parents. So important. The next episode, we're only a day away from that one. And I'm telling you, holy shit, get ready. And until next time, for Exposed, Scandalous Files of the Elite, I'm your host, Jim Chapman. Much love.